competency-based interview is nothing more complicated than a well-prepared and planned interview, where you ask questions that are based on what the candidate has actually done or achieved and how they've gone about doing this, rather than ask hypothetical questions such as, in a certain situation, what would you do? So simply, it's about asking for examples of someone's actual experience. Being a competency-based interview, it links directly to the role profile. The key to conducting a good competency-based interview is in the planning. During the interview, you'll be asking questions from the recruiting success form. Your interview should last around 30 minutes. However, it's a good idea to leave yourself an extra 10 minutes to reflect and complete the summary sections. As you need to capture lots of information during the interview, it will be a good idea to use an extra person, such as a colleague, to take the notes. This will give you the chance to listen and plan your next question. This is an ideal setup, however it may not suit all. Ask your DM if additional hours are needed. What sort of environment would you like to be interviewed in? Well, where you hold the interview will make a real difference to both the candidate's opinion of us and how comfortable they feel. Your store may not always be the best option, and you should avoid using cramped areas such as stockrooms or small back areas. Perhaps think about where you hold your district meetings. Other alternatives could be a larger local store. It's worth checking to see if you have a local job centre nearby, as they usually provide a suitable interview room for free. Cafes and pubs are not appropriate. On the day of the interview, brief your store team and make them aware of the candidates that will be attending that day, so they can welcome them upon arrival and know not to interrupt the interview.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us use the store today. No problem. I've got a list of candidates here for the interviews and the times. If you could just make sure they sign in and then come and grab me.
Yeah, no problem, not a problem.
Thank you.
During the planning, think about the following. Make sure the interview is held in a private area with no interruptions. Prepare and be organised. Make sure you have pre-read and rehearsed your questions. Keep to time. Avoid starting the interview late or letting interviews overrun. Prepare refreshments, perhaps water, tea or coffee. Set up the room in advance. A tip is to arrange the furniture so chairs and tables are at right angles rather than opposite each other. For our interview process, we follow a model called WASP. We need to welcome the applicant, and this is more about putting them at ease. The first impressions rule apply to us as well as the candidate.
Hi, I'm here for my interview with Chris. Oh, okay, you must be Sam?
Yeah.
Let me just get you to sign in for me today. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, if you just want to go and have a look around the store for now, and I'll go and grab Chris for you. Okay.
So we're looking at these bits here. First one's in.
Hey Chris, just to let you know that Sam is downstairs ready for our interview.
Okay, great. I'll be there in a second. Okay, so just this bit here. Hi Sam.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm alright. Thanks for coming to this store. See, it's a bit quieter than the other one.
Yeah.
Follow me. How did you manage to find here?
Yeah, it was easy enough to find.
Okay, so take a seat. Thanks for coming in again today.
That's okay.
This is Sally.
Nice to meet you, Sally.
Sally works in the store here. She's going to be taking some notes today. So we've got something to refer back to.
Yeah.
All the questions that are going to be asked today are going to be based on your past experience. Should last about half an hour.
Okay.
Before we start, they can offer you a drink.
I'm all good, thank you.
During the acquire part of the WASP model, this is your opportunity to begin fact-finding for specific examples relating to the candidate's past work experience. The interview form is structured, and for consistency, every question on it needs to be asked. It's a good idea to rehearse the questions first, rather than relying on reading off the sheet on the day. This makes you sound much more meaningful and less like you're following a process.
Okay, so when you used to work at Game Station, can you give me an example of when you gave really excellent service?
There was a guy that came in that used to play on the PlayStation, and I had a PlayStation at home, and we both used to play Assassin's Creed. and he was sort of slightly ahead of me, so I made an effort to get more ahead of him so I could help him out with his levels.
And can you give me an example when you achieved or exceeded a target?
I used to hit my pre-sales targets every week.
We've seen Chris ask 2 good questions confidently from the form. However, have we got enough information from the candidate? Probably not enough to make an informed decision, as we're missing out the detail of how Sam achieved this. When you feel you've not got enough detail, think about using TED. TED is a great way of remembering the different types of questions to ask that will bring out more of a detailed answer. Let's have a look at those questions and responses again, and this time using TED.
Okay, can you tell me a time when you were working at Game Station that you delivered excellent customer service? Describe to me what it was that you specifically did that made it great.
Yeah, the guy that I mentioned earlier who played Assassin's Creed, I played the games out, rented it loads so I could get that little bit ahead of him, so when he came in and he was stuck, I could sort of say, no, you need to do it like this is how we've played it. And he found that really helpful, and I'd always make sure I was in because I knew he was coming in on a Saturday, and I like working Saturdays anyway, so we were able to sort of help him out with that, and he really enjoyed coming into store.
Okay, so tell me a bit more about how you were targeted and explain the process you followed to hit that target.
Yeah, all the stores were given targets, and so my manager used to break the targets down into who worked what hours, so we'd each have individual targets, and then I'd speak to every customer that came into the store about pre-sales, so they knew what was coming out, and that's how I'd hit my targets.
And tell me what you think the impact to the business is of all those customers picking up the pre-sales.
It means repeat business, and we can get to know our customers, and we can also sort of gather data from them, because again we had the loyalty cards, so we were able to give those out with people's contact numbers, and you can constantly keep in touch with them and let them know about promotions and offers.
So Sam, during your OJE, you mentioned that customers were happy for you to talk to them.
Yeah,
Describe to me what it was that you specifically did that made them happy.
I was talking to them about films that I'd watched and that I really enjoyed, and recommended some of the films to them.
Okay, what reaction did you get from the customers when you asked them did they need any help?
To start with, it was quite tricky because a couple of them just said, no, I'm okay. So I got a bit downhearted at first, but just stuck with it. And when I was sort of on the rental wall with one of the customers, I'd put some stuff in my hands, so I had boxes to put on the shelf, so it made it look like I was there doing stock movement as opposed to just sort of asking if I wanted help.
Once you are satisfied that you've completed the acquiring stage of the interview process, it's time to supply information to the candidate. It's important to remember that they have a choice of where they want to work, so this is a good opportunity to sell us to them.
So let me tell you a bit more about Blockbuster and about the role. Every member of staff gets a uniform, that's to be worn in store at all time.
Okay.
So if you are successful, what size would you normally take?
Small.
Well, thanks for that, Sam. Just to let you know, every employee receives 10 free rentals a week on movies and games. You get paid fortnightly directly into your bank account, and everybody receives their holiday allowance. In store we have a comprehensive training resource, and we're big believers in internal succession. We also hold a sales induction day, and that covers the Blockbuster sales process. It also gives you loads of techniques and solutions to take back to your own store, and all the travel costs are reimbursed. It's held locally. Do you remember back to your role profile that I sent you? Okay, all the behaviours listed need to be demonstrated all the time, especially on the sales induction. If they're not, your contract could be terminated. Okay, how would you travel to that venue?
I'd drive.
That's great. So you know Blockbuster is open 7 days a week till late, so that the right employee would be flexible over weekends and bank holidays.
Okay.
Speaking of holidays, have you got anything planned over the next 6 months or longer?
No. Oh, actually, I'm away for 2 days on the 16th on a college trip.
Okay, thanks. We'll make a note of that. Okay, from time to time you might be asked to help support our stock take. Yeah. This normally happens late at night or early in the morning, and we do hold team briefings and individual meetings which are outside of normal trading hours. Okay, Blockbuster does adopt a non-smoking policy, which means smoking is not permitted, as in any other store, the front of the store or the back areas. And finally, we do have a 12-week probation period for all employees. Okay, this is supported with an online assessment, and you would need to achieve 100% of this to successfully complete your probation. Okay, do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't.
The plan and part stage of the process is where we discuss the next steps to take and begin preparation following the interview.
So if there are no further questions, I'll carry on and explain the next steps. All the candidates, successful and unsuccessful, will receive a letter with the outcome. If you do have any questions between now and then, don't hesitate to contact me.
Okay, I will do.
All right, thanks for coming in. Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you, Sally.
And I'll show you around.
Thank you.
Following the interview and while still fresh in your mind, you should now spend some time making sure everything was captured on the interview form. Make sure you review each section and score appropriately on the summary sections. Although you'll have a good idea on the suitability of the candidate, remember, always wait until you've seen everyone before making your final decision. After all the interviews have been completed, you now need to decide who to hire based on the process you've followed. It's not about picking the best person of the day. If they don't meet the criteria on the role profile, how are they expected to pass their sales induction? It's about choosing the right person for the job. Equally, if you have more than one right person, think about contacting any local stores that may also be recruiting.
Okay, so following your recent interview, I'm calling to let you know you've been successful. We're looking for you to start on the 7th.
The successful candidate needs to be sent a letter following a confirmation phone call. You should then update your recruitment tracker and then you can start to plan in their first few induction shifts. The interview process is your final opportunity to review the candidate before committing to hiring them. Remember, always follow the WASP model, and during your interview, avoid asking leading questions, such as,
So do you think that helped in that scenario? Do you like movies? And in your last job, did you have to smile at every customer?
You can't go wrong if you stick to using the questions on the recruitment form. This will also help you avoid unintentionally asking discriminating questions, such as,
So congratulations, I can see you've just got married. Does that mean you're going to be having children soon? So you've got a really unusual surname. What country is it from?
A common pitfall is to make a judgment on the candidate too soon. This can happen when we see or hear something from the candidate that relates to us personally. We call it the horns and halo effect.
Yeah, I like football and I really support Manchester United.
Oh, me too.
Finally, be aware of your own negative behaviours, such as sitting with your arms folded or the way you sit. Also, be careful when acknowledging the candidate's answers. You don't want to always be looking like a nodding dog. Following this process will help you complete a successful interview.